Hello class, welcome to our fourth and second to last video on material flow analysis. In this video, I will be demonstrating the STAN software and a relatively simple application, and then showing you an additional one I did in my own research. I apologize for the break between these two videos. I had some technical problems, which I resolved, and I'm excited to show you the software. So let's get started. So once you have downloaded it, you'll just have to search it from either your downloads or finding it. It will be named Stand, it's an application, and the name will also have the most recent version number. So it opens, probably open in another window, but I'm going to move it over here. And this is how it looks when it opens. So just to highlight some things, this is the shape window. This includes the processes, flows, and stocks and systems boundaries that we will need to be including in the material flow analysis that we create. This is the drawing window where we will be creating the material flow analysis. And this is the properties window where we can adjust the properties of all the specific components of our material flow analysis. So to start, how you select is by clicking on one of the shapes and then clicking on your drawing window. And you'll see that firstly, it puts that shape onto the drawing window. And secondly, it creates an item where this is now process number one, full name, as a short symbol. It is not a subsystem, which then we can open into another window. It does not have a stock or a transfer coefficient, but these are all things that we can add by clicking these boxes. And we will not do that yet for these processes. So to create another process, you just have to repeat that where you click on the shape in the shape window and click on the drawing window. And you can see that right now I have process 2 selected. And so the properties window is reflecting process 2. But if I instead click on process 1, that will also be reflected in the properties window. And then just to continue fleshing out our simple material flow analysis, I have selected the flow. And this is the flow between process 1 and process 2. I will then click on the input flow, which is going to describe how material flows into our system. And so it's coming into our system, into process 1, and then to through flow 1 into process 2. And then it flows out of our system using this flow that's exported, or export flow. I'm going to define one more process, so this will be process 3. And I want this to be a landfill. And I will have input, sorry, not input, I selected the wrong. So to delete, what you have to do is select an item, hit delete. It's going to ask you if you want to delete the selected object. You can say, do not show me this message again. I'm going to connect a connecting flow and have that go from process 1 to process 2. I'd also like to note that all of the text boxes are movable by clicking and dragging, and all of the flows are variable but in the properties window. And I'll show you how to do that in just. I'm going to have one more flow from process 2 to process 3. I think that this diagonal is ugly, so I'm going to click on the green button in the middle of it and draw to make this flow straight, vertical, and horizontal with a right angle. And so let's start by defining the amount of material that is coming into our system from flow 2. And let's say that this value is 100. And then 100. Let's also say that this is a municipal solid waste system for a county, which is going to parallel the research that I do and the one I made that I will also show you. And this is the systems boundary. So I clicked it and dragged it to cover what I want to define as my system. In this case, including the processes 1, 2, and 3, and dividing the input and the export showing how material is going into our system and flowing through our system, going through these properties. Oops, Z. And you can control the to undo and through our export. And so to define some values and kind of show the power of Stan, I'm going to say that 20 tons of material are flowing out of our system and 25 tons of material are flowing through from process 1 to process 2. And this is enough information for Stan to calculate the rest of the foam flows and the stock that is changing in process 3. And you calculate by selecting this calculator button or hitting F5, which will then, and this will show exactly what the calculation entailed. And this calculation showed that 100 tons of material came into our system. 25 of that material flowed from flow 1 to flow 2. 75 tons of material flowed to process 3 from process 1, and 5 flowed from process 2 to process 3. You can also add errors, volume flows, or density flows, or for this process, add a transfer coefficient, which you can then adjust in the transfer coefficient tab by selecting transfer coefficient, selecting edit, and inputting the flow's transfer coefficients. These are also really great because you can add a literature reference to define and kind of validate where these transfer coefficients are coming from. I would also want to include some distinctions because so firstly, let's change the name of process 1 to be a transfer station. Process 2 to be a recycling center. And process 3 to be a landfill. However, even so visually, these seem the same. And also, sorry, one more thing. Let's change this system to be our county and the year to be 2024. And we can also add a unit key to show what the flows units are. So we can say ton per year, the stock to be ton per year. And we can add more description here and reference that to literature as well. And so one more thing I would like to change is that these 3 processes, even though they're named the same, they don't seem very visually distinctive. So I am going to adjust the shapes of these processes in the Properties tab. For transfer station, I'm going to have that be a light gray. For recycling center, I'm going to have that be a light green, just because generally they seem to be connotated with green. For landfill, I'm going to have something darker. And you may think, oh no, where'd it go? You just have to select over between all these tabs and choose shape to change the color. Let's change something a little darker, so dark green. And now let us recalculate our system, and it was successful. We can then validate our system, which was also successful. And now I would like to export my beautiful system. And to do that, first I want to get rid of the grid lines, and you do that by selecting this button up here. Then I do File, Export Diagram, and I would like to make this a JPEG. I'm first going to copy to the clipboard, and then I'm going to save. R county MFA underscore 2024. Save. I'm going to open a Word document. Just to show you guys that the MFA did in fact copy over from Stan on our keyboard. You can adjust the screenshot through simple cropping tools. And here we have our beautiful material flow analysis. And one thing I'd like to highlight that I didn't adjust, but was calculated and then shown on our diagram was the import, the change in stock of our system, and the export values, which Stan automatically inputted. Awesome. This was the demo for material for Stan. And we have attached slides to this lecture in case you want future reference, but feel free to reach out with any questions. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the last video.